full-time driver. Been driving about 6 months. Big flat van. Shout out to my boy Dan the man, the best. I ain't gonna say the best, but he's pretty good. Pretty good. Thanks for tuning in. You are now watching the Prime Safety Meeting. We're gonna get at you in 3, 2, 1.
Good morning. Today is Friday, and this is your safety meeting. You know, obviously, we're coming to you from a much different setting than what we're accustomed to. We're accustomed to being right down in Springfield, Missouri, in the cafeteria, surrounded by our very best friends and the very most important part of this company, our driver base. But due to rising cases of COVID-19 and the Omicron variant, we had to pivot a little bit. So we appreciate you guys tuning in live with us today. We are upstairs in the operations side, sales side of the building. Pretty empty here. Most of our associates have been asked to work remote, so they're at home. They're still answering phones. They're still reaching out to our customers, and they're still providing you with the very best service that this industry can provide. My name is Dennis Davis. I work in the safety department. As always, the safety department is located one floor down from where we are in the Z building, right in the center of the room next to the pillar. So if you ever have any questions, comments, or concerns, don't hesitate to stop by, or if you're out on the road, give us a call. We appreciate you tuning in. This is going to be live on Facebook and live on YouTube. So thank you for you folks that are tuning in live with us, and especially those that are going to tune in later because you're driving down the road and we don't want any distractions. As always, with me this morning is my friend and colleague, David White from the safety department. Good morning, Dave.
Morning, Dennis. How's it going, buddy?
Man, you know, sometimes we have to pivot, but you know, we're doing it.
I'm glad you're the one that tried to say the Omicron, because I've been practicing that literally this morning. I still can't say, so I just call it COVID-19. But yeah, we are in a different location, different setting. We would much rather be out in front of our drivers, down at the cafeteria, free breakfast, all that good stuff. But we've had to kind of pivot back, like you said earlier, but we'll get through this. And we wanted to bring you something this morning, and we put together a little piece here. Hopefully, everybody will enjoy it. And then, as you said, this is not our surroundings here. This has nothing to do with safety up here. This is our sales floor, and they do a wonderful job here. And we're going to have some special guests we'll bring up here, and it'll make this interesting, I think. So
good. So the first thing we want to talk about is some of the changes to protocol here inside of the Springfield, Missouri terminal. So, you know, me and Dave are trying to get as much distance between us as we possibly can. You know, Dave's got his mask over there on the desk. I've got mine right here. But for the sake of this video, we're going to shed the mask for just a second. But for the time being, there is a 100% mandatory masking policy. So for any associate, no matter what your vaccination status is, we are asking you to provide some type of face covering when you come into the building. I don't know how long that'll last, but hopefully not long, and hopefully that'll curb some of the positive cases that we're having inside of the building.
And yeah, just like what Dennis says, is right on. And let's be cognitive of what this masking policy is about. You know, we want everybody to wear a mask inside the building. If you get asked to wear a mask, if you don't have one, security should have one for you. Make sure you put it on. We're all one big happy family around here. That's where we try to be. And we need to take care of ourselves, number one, but number two, take care of each other. And that's part of where the masking comes in. And so, this COVID-19, it's been kind of crazy. And finally this week, Dennis, our department finally got hit. We had one person that got COVID, and he'll be okay. He's doing well at home, but it's a real life deal, and hopefully we'll get through it. And that's, like I said, we're pivoting, man, just like a basketball forward. Pivot, go to the left, and we'll be back. Hopefully we'll be back live. I like to be optimistic myself. Hopefully the end of February, maybe early March, but who knows? Maybe be sooner. And what we're so blessed with here at Prime is we got a doctor's office. Trinity downstairs. Dr. John Abraham does a wonderful job, and every morning he's out here, and Christian, I think, helps him too. He works in his office. They're testing people, and they're right on the front line of this, and they stay on top of it. Dr. Abraham does, and he communicates with Robert on what to do with inside associates and drivers, et cetera. And we just don't want this stuff spreading. We don't want our people getting sick, and if they do, hopefully it's minimal and they can bounce right back and get back into the work status a week or so later. But we are truly blessed to have Trinity with us, and they're great people to work with. Every one of them down there, and they're on the front line, man. So they got a tough job.
They are on the front line. They are on a tough job, and their job is it's increased here a lot over the last 2 weeks. So, we do want to make sure everybody listening understands the protocol. If for some reason you do start to feel ill, fever, chills, headache, any of the symptoms that we've been talking about for almost 2 years now, it's important that if you're a driver in our fleet that you contact your fleet manager right away. And they have a specific protocol that they will go through. And, if necessary, we'll get you somewhere and get you tested. If you're here on site in Springfield, Missouri, we have testing basically every day, so we can get you tested. And if you are positive, we can provide some resources and services to get you quarantined, yet still provide you with food and everything that you need to get you through. So we got an exciting fireside chat is what we're calling this today.
Right.
And we got some few folks that are going to come in and talk. But as always, we're going to start out with safety. So we got some report card numbers for inspections this week.
Yeah, inspections, 135 DOT inspections, 86 of those were clean, so 64% clean rate. We're doing pretty good this year starting out. Hopefully we'll keep those numbers up and keep rolling. Couple of things I notice in this, every week, Dennis, one of us, you, myself, or Bill, we sign off on the inspections and send them back. So we get to really get our eye on view of every violation we get and every clean inspection too as well. And besides us, Steve Field, our safety director, he looks at them as well. So they really get, we go through a fine tooth comb over them, seeing what the violations are, what we did wrong, how we can get better. And this past week, a couple of them popped up that I haven't seen in a while, and that was not having enough chain devices in the state of Washington. The state of Washington, remember, we're talking chains, cables, auto socks. Auto socks are legal. You can purchase auto socks through our company store. They are legal. You can use them on your truck, trailer. They're a lot easier to put on than chains and cables. But if you're old school, you can use chains and cables. That's fine too as well. Just remember, in the state of Washington, you have to have 2 extra chains or cables on your truck or auto socks to be legal. So they want you to have a couple spares with you. If you get stopped at an inspection, they will write it up as a violation, and they can fine you too as well. So let's make sure we have those on the truck. We don't want to see anybody else get any more inspections with those with a violation, not having enough securement devices. So overall, though, we're doing pretty well in our inspections, and hopefully we continue that trend. Wintertime, Dennis, real easy to take shortcuts out there. You know what I mean? You look at your equipment, you go, man, it's cold out. This morning here in Springfield, 4 degrees here. And I know the last thing I wanted to do, I start up my truck, was go around and look at the tires and make sure everything was ready to go. And, but, out there being a professional driver like you all are, we need to not take shortcuts. We need to make sure everything's working properly. And in the wintertime, these things do break. Sometimes you'll get airlines issues. You may get brake line issues. Something may be leaking out of your fuel tank, whatever it may be. We need to make sure we catch that before we take off, not once we get in the process of rolling down the road, because the worst place to be is broken down on the side of the road when it's cold outside.
Absolutely. Dave, and you talked a little bit about, what the chain regulations are for the state of Washington, but, right there on your Prime mobile app, you've got a full document on exactly what the regulations are for the most stringent states. If you have any questions about that, as always, you can contact your fleet manager, and he or she can give you that information. But just really any piece of information that you have is going to be right there in your pocket with that Prime mobile app. There's a number of different pockets of information to go to in that Prime mobile app. When you get some downtime, play with it a little bit. How do you send pictures to road assist? How do you send pictures to cargo claims, or heaven forbid, after an accident? How do you find information on how to send in your renewed CDL or your renewed DOT physical, or even information about where you can find the chain regulations for the states. Play with that Prime mobile app. If you have questions, we've got a help desk that are probably the smartest people in the building. Dave is on the phone with them probably at least 3 times a day with some type of IT issue. But they're nice, they're helpful, they're available, and they're always willing to to help out one of our drivers. So
I seem to have a challenge with my computer sometimes. I don't know what it is.
well,
I know you know what you're thinking it's me, right?
well, you are a guy of a certain generation. So.
That's true. A little bit older. That's right. So
Good. So what do we got lined up next to talk about today?
So
sorry.
go ahead, Mitch. You got a question?
Guy Loomis wants to know. He said you guys talk about snow, wind, the winter while you're out on the road, but what do you do in the case of a tornado?
Good question. You want to talk about the weather? I mean, I think this would be perfect right here.
So yeah, this will be a perfect transition. So this time of year, the first thing we always want to talk about is any type of inclement weather.
Yep.
So this includes, of course, this time of year, snow, sleet, ice, heavy rains in the springtime, dense fog on a summer morning. Anytime there's inclement weather involved, there's only risk that we incur when we're out on the road. There's really no reward. There's no hazard pay. There's no trophy at the end. And even some inclement snow situations, you may have risked your life to get that load of cereal delivered. And there, lo and behold, the customer is shut down because they sent their associates home due to the weather. So never in any situation do we want you to risk your life or the lives of the motoring public around you to get any commodity that we carry delivered. All right. I always tell people, the worst part of the storm is not the time to try to battle. Storms don't typically sit in one place, they move. So even if it's 2 hours, 4 hours, even a full 10-hour break later, typically what we find is that the storm has passed. The local jurisdictions have deployed their snow plows and they've treated the roads, and the traffic situation is drastically different than what it would have been if you would have tried to operate in the worst part of the storm. Again, there's no reward. The first piece of advice that we're going to give you when it comes to inclement weather operating is consider not driving. And of course, we always want you to use your fleet manager as a resource to, he or she has the internet right in front of them. They can pull up what the weather outlook is over the next few hours. They can look at what the road conditions are, and they can team up with you and maybe even your co-driver to figure out what the best course of action is. So so when we talk about tornadoes, we're kind of always they come fast. So it's not like winter weather where we've got a 3-day notice that Winter Storm Jasper is going to be barreling through the southeastern region this weekend. Tornadoes kind of come fast. We experienced this here in Joplin a few years back, and I was actually sitting not too far from here when that happened, and it came fast. And really what the coaching is, Dave, is get to a safe haven. One myth would be a safe haven is going to be under an overpass, and that's not true. An underpass is for a big truck and trailer is probably one of the most dangerous places you can be. The coaching is going to be try to get to any low-lying area. So this could be in a ditch. Try your best to cover yourself, especially your head, from any debris that could be flying. But stay away from underneath overpasses and try to stay away from as many other vehicles as you possibly can.
And really nowadays, the last information I read on what to do on tornadoes, even the Highway Patrol says this, what not to do is to get out of your vehicle and get up underneath an overpass. And that used to be what they used to tell people to do is get up underneath that overpass. They said, because if a tornado comes through, it can suck you out and you can be in a lot worse situation. So yeah, just what Dennis, to reiterate, hey, make sure you plan, make sure you're watching that weather. I was just sitting here and I turned around and looked, and here we got the Weather Channel on behind us, and that's what they show here in sales. Weather Channel here in sales. Fleet managers, our fleet managers have access to safety too for weather, where our trucks are at, what's going on throughout the country, and it's important you do that too when you're out there on the road. Know where you're at, where you're going, and what the weather conditions are going to be, especially with colder weather like this, because you may be in Florida, but if you're delivering in Chicago, there's a chance you could be coming into some a winter storm, ice issues, head north. And then besides that, the temperature, making sure you got your anti-gel and all that in your truck and your fuel's treated, because many times down in the south, they don't treat the fuel like they do up in the north. So, make sure your truck's ready and you're ready to encounter those conditions. But, right on. Good question by our driver, by the way. I was thinking, It'd be nice if we had some tornado issues going on right now. It'd be a little bit warmer than here what it is today, but no.
Be careful what you wish for.
Exactly. That's true, man. We don't want to wish for that. So, but
we got any more questions?
Any more, Mitch? We good? All right. Let's, what are we talking about? Winter weather driving?
Got that?
So we got that. Good talk about past driving. What drivers thinking in winter? How about we hit that a little bit?
That's true. So
go ahead.
I came to Prime, ironically, almost 20 years ago to the day as an intern. I was, we call that the red shirt year and a half for me. So we don't really get credit for that time here. But, I didn't know anything about trucking. I literally didn't know the difference between a truck and a trailer, so I came in with zero trucking knowledge and worked my way up through the ranks. So I never drove over the road, but Dave did. Dave was actually my uncle's college roommate at University of Central Missouri. But Dave, after college, transitioned into a driving opportunity for a few years. And, I know that was a long time ago, but let's talk a little bit about what the mindset of drivers were when it came to operating in inclement weather.
Well, first of all, back when I drove, it was 1995. I got my CDL. I still have it today. 95, I believe it was January, if I remember, because it was cold. But and there was a company up in Wisconsin I drove for. And back then, there really wasn't a whole lot of training, Dennis. I'll just be honest with you. When you got most people went through a CDL school, got their CDL, came out, and it was maybe a week or so with a trainer, and you're on your own, maybe 2 weeks. For myself, I got my CDL on my own, but I still went out with a trainer for 2 weeks, and after 2 weeks, he said, "Here's the keys, and you're doing good. I think you can do it." And I got keys to an older truck, cab over. That was my first truck, and started driving. And back then, there's no technology. We had no phones, nothing like that. The company I drove for, we didn't even have Qualcomm. So we'd stop and use a payphone at truck stops and things like that. And that was always an experience within itself. But, so sometimes the fleet manager would tell me, "Hey, Dave, go up here 100 miles, get off and call me back." And so I'd go up 100 miles to a truck stop, get off the interstate, call them back, got a load for me. Those types of situations. But as far as understanding, safe driving and all that is, nowadays we do so much better. There's no doubt about it. In Prime, I'll be honest with you, I've always been impressed with our training program, training them the way we do, get them out with people. 30,000 miles for some people. If you're coming in with experience, you may be able to start out at 15 to 20,000 miles with a trainer. But it's really important because every company operates differently, and that's the thing you got to remember. We're developing safe drivers, doing our best to do that, but also there's a business sense that goes along with that. Back in the mid 90s, there was no business sense. It was just run, baby, run, get your next load, go on. And safety was always important. You never wanted to hurt yourself, never wanted to hurt anybody else. But it was about just, getting those miles in and making money and getting rest and moving on. And that's, nowadays trucking's just developed into more of a technological, more business sense. And if you're not one of those companies that are on the edge with technology and trying different things, and that's what I love about Prime, we got one owner. We don't have a board of directors. You have to run stuff through and run stuff by to get okay to try something. We can, just like you said, pivot. Just like we're doing today. We pivoted 2 days ago. We said, "Hey, we're not going to have a Friday morning meeting." But we still are a little bit. We're having this. And that's the thing that's unique about Prime is we can do that. And it's important to be able to do that. And to have the technology our fleet managers have at their hands with weather conditions, our drivers have with their phones, being able to figure out what's coming up and what's safe. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it's no different from back in the mid-90s. Safety is always important. There's no doubt. But, nowadays it's even paramount. It's paramount that we put out safe drivers and we do our training program, and we do that. We do a great job of that. And so it's a little bit different mindset, but more technology based. I think it's made it easier on the drivers. Obviously, our the equipment that's available today, automatics. Back in 95, I had a 10-speed, and I think one of my trucks was a 9-speed as well. I had, you had the double clutch shift, all that. I'd love to drive an automatic nowadays. That'd be nice. And the amenities inside these trucks, they really do a good job of keeping them up to date, making them nice and spacious for the driver as much as possible. And just trucking has transformed so much, and we do a good job of that. here at Prime, you know, I mean, that's what it's about. It's about keeping our driver base and keeping them happy and keeping them safe.
So, you know, it's just me and you talking, and
Sure.
you know, 4 million of our closest friends.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so back in 1995, you know, driving up in Wisconsin, of course, there's some
Yep.
inclement weather, you know, essentially every other day. All right, and you know,
Pretty
you're
much.
you're in the worst part of a storm up there in Madison, and some trucks are pulling off to get to a safe haven, but there's also some heroes out there pressing forward. You know, maybe even on the CB talking about,
Mhm.
hey, look at Prime over there. There's a snowflake, so they're pulling in. Kind of what was the mindset of some of these older drivers and maybe even a little bit more experienced drivers as far as pulling over in inclement weather?
Yeah, most of them you'd see. It just depended on what they wanted to do and where they're at in their hour shift. But yeah, you had a mixture of both. Some would pull over, some would not. If it got real bad, and the worst conditions I can remember driving in is fog. When you can't see out in front of you, that's when it gets scary, and that's when, you know, I would immediately look for a place to park and say, "Hey, I got." And fog, just like anything else, it will eventually lift. It's just going to take a while sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. Maybe an hour, it's gone, and you can get back out there and drive again. You know what I mean? So, but at the end of the day, you know, those types of conditions, you see some drivers that continue on, but I was always looking for a place to pull over because, you know, I wasn't worried about my ability on snow and ice because I grew up in Iowa. I grew up driving snow and ice, a lot of four-wheel vehicles, cars, trucks, you name it. But in a tractor trailer, it is quite a bit different. There's no doubt about it. But I knew my abilities. It's the people around you that scare you. When you got those big trucks that fly by you at 70 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour, and it's snow and ice conditions, and you're running 40, it's like, okay, I'm going to get off the road, you know, and let them handle that. And so undoubtedly, sometimes you'd see one in the ditch further up ahead, and you just hope nobody got hurt. And same thing you see with cars, you know what I mean? It's no different. And some of these car drivers, same way. You just don't want to get tangled up with one of them. That's at the end of the day. It's nobody wins when you're involved in any type of accident. So
yeah, and you know, I've been lucky. You know,
Yeah.
Prime has really been my only,
Yep.
you know, trucking experience. You know, you've had some experience in other companies, and we'll get, you know, somebody from our sales department here shortly to talk about, you know, kind of what their mindset is. But when it comes to inclement weather, but you know, some of these smaller companies, you know, was there pressure to drive in inclement weather to push it through, or even when you're fatigued? You know, was that back in the 90s? Was that kind of a thing?
Sometimes the pressure gets put on the driver. They bring it on themselves. So, for instance, if you got 200 miles before you hit the house, and you get a little bit fatigued, but you go, man, 200 miles, I can be at home. And drivers can start thinking that way, like, hey, you know, maybe I'll just push it on, get on through. Back then, paper log books, you know, I mean, you remember those days. It's, you know, nowadays it's totally different with electronic logs, but back then, paper log books, yeah, there's drivers that would finagle their way and figure it out to make it to the house. But today, just a different environment. It totally is. And it's all about safety. And I really feel that for a lot of, you know, of all the trucking companies out there, we're all in the same ship. Nobody wants to see a bad accident, no matter what carrier. Doesn't make us look good. And, you know, at the end of the day, that's what we're about safety. So
Excellent. So we're going to kind of get a little bit of an overview from the other side.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked about it from a little bit from the driver's side and from the safety side. You know, we're sitting up here on the sales floor. So what we're going to do this morning is get one of our sales associates that's actually working here on site during this, you know, time of reprieve from being in the office. We're going to invite Matt Meschino, maybe.
Oh, here he comes.
There he goes.
He's got the right shirt on today. St. Louis Blues, Dennis.
Let's
go Blues. There we go.
So, Matt Meschino, tell us what you do here at Prime.
What I do here at Prime, I work very closely with Garrett Dowdy. He takes care of the Walmart account.
Okay.
What I do is I handle the day-to-day operations of the Walmart account. They send all their loads over via EDI, so they all come to me. And so I'm basically the middleman between Walmart and our customer service group here. If they have any questions about any loads, they get with me. And if anybody here has issues or problems with loads, they get with me, and I take it to Walmart.
How long you been doing this?
9 years.
9 years.
9 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
What'd you do before you came to Prime?
Well, yeah, before I came to Prime, I was wasting time doing sales jobs. You know, I just did various sales jobs, and you know, petroleum industry and the telecommunications industry, and you know, sales just isn't my deal. You know, I like like doing this, but I still sell a lot in what I do.
How's Garrett?
Yeah.
How's Garrett treat you?
Oh, he's great.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
he's fantastic.
All right, good to hear.
Yeah.
Good to hear. So, the conversation that Dave and I were having is, we were talking about, maybe some external pressures on drivers, both back when he drove and even a little bit now, about driving in inclement weather or even when they're fatigued, to make sure we ensure that service point, kind of. So you're kind of on the other side. You're in direct communication with customers. Kind of what type of feedback, what type of communication do you have with that customer if a driver calls in and says, hey, it's bad out here in Springfield, Missouri, that I need to pull over? You get that information from a fleet manager, or even if it's sunny and 65 and, driver's fatigued. We can't quite make that appointment. Kind of take us through what at least Walmart is going to say in that situation.
Yeah, I think Walmart, since they have a fleet of their own, safety is a high priority for them as well. And, especially in, the snow and stuff, they don't want any of our drivers, driving through snow. Yeah.
So, one of the things I appreciate most about, working at Prime, when you go around and you talk to different associates around the building, even for, me and Dave work directly with drivers, so we're in communication with drivers literally nonstop every day. But, there's a portion of our team that you rarely speak with drivers, if ever. But, the first thing you talked about, one was, safety and how important it is for, our drivers to be taken care of. But two, your boots on the ground, working with customers, battling phone, email, sometimes in-person visits, making sure that our drivers are getting taken care of on those accessorial deals. And, we definitely appreciate, that and what you and your team and the staff does. So,
yeah, we wouldn't be here without our drivers. I mean, they're the driving force. I do know, a few of them, I've met a lot. I started out here in the mailroom,
Oh yeah, I remember that.
That's true. I forgot about that.
Same here.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I do remember that.
Then I came up here.
There's a lot of people started out in the mailroom. Brad Quinn, Steve Tassin, all those older sales guys. Now seems like y'all gravitate up to the sales side.
That's right. That's right.
Good.
When you start your career 15 years in a career outside of trucking, coming in, is kind of tough, and so I enjoy the mailroom too. That was great. Go.
Yeah, it's a good place to start.
And that's what Walmart is too. It's go. It keeps me on my toes. But I love what I do. I love this company I work with. I love the people I work with, the company I work for, man. And the drivers. The drivers are great. I know a few of them, and they're good people. Good people.
Good.
Well, thank you for handling one of our top customers, man. You do a good job.
You talk about those challenges. I'll give you a famous Prime quote that I heard many times, many years ago. Nobody promised you a rose garden.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but we'll let you leave on a good note. So, talk about some of your favorite parts of the job.
Favorite. I like like I said, it's so busy. I just get load after load pouring into my screen here. And getting caught up and saying, yeah, I did it. I cleared them all out, and just having time to breathe. That's
look at how many loads you've moved and all that.
Yeah,
you got the system. That's good. Yeah, that's
and
what makes our company roll.
If Walmart, if they don't get us an appointment for the right time, and our driver is good for layover or has earned that layover, that's rewarding for me to get that paid for our driver.
Good.
Even though it may not be enough for the driver, but hey, it's something. And that's a very rewarding part of my job. That's what I like getting accomplished.
Hey, the satisfaction of a job well done. Right?
That's right. Taking care of our drivers.
All right, as busy as you are, we're going to let you get back to it. We appreciate everything you do, and we appreciate you, allowing us to come up in your area, steal you away from your hundreds of loads.
Yeah, well, a few of them just timed out, so there you go.
Better get you back there. That's right, man.
Hey, appreciate it.
Take care. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. That's a good little interview there. I never knew what he did all the time. I learned just as much as anybody else out there.
Yeah, it's obviously fun to go around, kind of part of what we do in this Friday morning meeting setting. And now that we've kind of have to pivot a little bit, hopefully, maybe this will be an ongoing thing for the next couple of weeks that we can get to.
Move around a little bit.
Move around the
I think that'd be
building,
great.
talk to some folks that we don't get to see often. Except in passing, I haven't seen Meschino probably in 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. Down in the cafeteria, maybe, and that's about it. Yeah.
So it'll be fun and interesting to get around and talk to people to kind of get an idea of exactly what they do, listen to what their challenges are day to day. And our mindset. We work in safety. It ebbs and flows. Some days it's busy. We can't keep up, and then other days, especially when the available percentage is down. It gets a little bit slower. That gives us some time to catch up on some of our other responsibilities. But, no different than our driver base, these other folks around the building, we're a lean company.
We are very much.
And truly being transparent, Matt is probably doing a job of two people, it's just how we are at Prime, and it's part of the culture. So
it's true. And it's part of the rewards too of it. So different than, every company operates differently, and we do a damn good job of doing what we do, but we can always get better, at the end of the day, and that's what we strive for. So let's bring up our next gentleman.
I think we got another speaker. Anytime we get in front of our driver base, we want to make sure that the leadership of the company is present and accounted for and can give you some good, solid information. So we're going to have Jim Guthrie come up with us. This is kind of his territory. We're on the sales floor, so we're going to bring Jim up, and he's going to talk to us a little bit.
Good morning, Jim. How you doing?
Good morning, Jim.
Morning.
How are you?
Good morning. Good. How are you guys?
Good.
So, how many years you been here? I know you got me beat by far, but go ahead.
I think right about 23.
Yeah.
So
come out of college, did you come here?
Yeah. I actually started on the fuel desk whenever I was in college during some winter breaks and summer breaks, and went to night dispatch, and then came back full time after I got out. It kind of got into my blood and never could stop. So I was having conversations with, at the time, Shelley Abbey, during the last couple of years of my school, as to ready to come back and get going. So
good deal. Then you transitioned into your current role. What's that been, 3-4 years ago? Or has it been longer than that?
About 2.5 years.
Okay.
It's kind of like everything runs a little bit together with COVID.
Yeah. So you're the head of operations or sales?
I manage our reefer operations, group. So we have an extraordinary team of very, as you saw, Matthew's just one of many just outstanding associates that have a lot of care factor, really do an incredible job every day for our customers and for our drivers. So it's awesome to be part of such a great team and be associated with a company with all the just extraordinary drivers that we've got out on the road each day. So
I'm part of the Prime culture, and one of the things I like about folks like Jim is, he's uniquely qualified. Started here as a college kid, worked on the fuel desk. When I came here, Jim was a fleet manager. Beat me up a couple times as a night fleet manager, but that's part of it. You got to cut your teeth. Working your way up through the system. He's worked in various departments. He's been involved in kind of everything. Even I think you're part of the ROCOR deal, part of the TRL deal. He's been.
I remember we had that vaccine. What was that for the flu vaccine? And Jim was the leader behind that, making sure those loads got picked up. And that was a big staple here. So
definitely uniquely qualified for the role. But Jim, as you're in this role now, man, something that's never happened in the history of at least during our lifetime. Talk to us a little bit about what it's been like during COVID the last 2 years and how we've had to make some changes.
It's been obviously a very volatile time, lots of dynamic situations going on. And, at the end of every day, what I'm probably most proud of is just, realizing what our drivers have done, from March of 2020 through today and beyond, just incredible efforts to keep, it sounds cliche to keep the country moving, but think about it. If a Prime driver or any of our drivers hadn't been able to accomplish what they did, people wouldn't have eaten, they wouldn't have gotten food and medications, and so I think that maybe the best thing that will come out of the COVID pandemic, as we hopefully are starting to get to the point to where we'll have it in the rearview mirror partially, but I think the best thing that'll come out of it is the respect that some drivers, that are all the drivers in the industry, particularly our drivers, of course, but all drivers in the industry will achieve, because I think people recognize more now what they've done during this time. There's probably not, I mean, doctors and nurses undoubtedly are public health officials, but man, what truck drivers have done during this time can't be dismissed as anything other than heroic, miraculous, just really incredible. So very, very proud to be part of this company that literally has been impacted our nation positively to keep things flowing during this time. So there's just been you always want to be looking out ahead, like it's always where the puck is going, as Robert would say often, right? So I would say that's been a little bit of a challenge during the pandemic, because
just like this week, man, we're all in the office on Monday and Wednesday. Everybody's gone.
Kind of like every trend gets
it's like
whenever
crazy.
you're dealing with the pandemic. But whenever you've got great people and great drivers, we've all laced up our bootstraps together and persevered through it. So very proud of that. Very proud of what our company's done during this time.
So, as let's talk a little bit about, what's going on out there with customer base. First quarter of 2022, back in the day, the first quarter of any year typically is the toughest, but, here recently, that trend's kind of changed a little bit, right?
Yeah. A lot of things have changed. The demand in the first quarter, the last probably 3 or 4 years really has shifted a little bit from what it used to. Whereas, it used to be in the first quarter, things kind of slowed down a little bit, but I think that's really changed the last few years. And so we see tremendous demand during the first quarter, more demand than we can meet most days. And so, that's something that has changed. We used to say, well, we're 1 week into January, that's 1 week closer to spring. And we don't say that as much anymore.
Sure.
So except for, dealing with the weather, obviously, is a challenge for all of our drivers out there, and nothing more important than safety. And so it slows us down sometimes, which is appropriate, because we certainly don't want to take any risks. But after we get through the winter weather, then we're ready to rock and roll. And so we appreciate, and our customers deeply appreciate all of our drivers out there running during some of these treacherous times, whenever it's not only are you dealing with a virus and pandemic right now, but you're dealing with winter weather if they're at various spots of the country. So one thing I would like to mention, we've leaned on our drivers over the last 18, 20 months to help in every which direction, and they've always responded very, very, very positively and very helpful. I'd say, right now the demand to come into Prime is great. There's a lot of new people coming into the company. We're seeing a huge demand to get in and get into the industry, get trained, and that's a really great thing for everybody. That growth gives us a lot of options with leverage. Helps us with our capacity, which is a big component of the service we provide to customers, and so that helps us with leverage for rates, and so it's a really great thing. But we're having a problem right now with trainers and instructors, and so I would ask anybody who's healthy and qualified to train or instruct to please consider helping out this in the short term here. If you haven't done it for a while, consider doing it again, just to help get us through this spot where we've got a lot of folks that are out with COVID, them or their families. We've got folks that are out for whatever reasons going on with all the the problems going on throughout throughout our communities, but we really need that help. So, please, if you're qualified and can help out for the next few weeks, or we'd like for you to do it for a few months, but we'll take a few weeks at this point. Reach out to your fleet manager, let them know. We'll make it. We'll get it set up for you, and certainly use that help. And man, it's always nice to see our folks that give back. Somebody trained you coming into the company. If you're out there today, and it's a great feeling giving back and training somebody new to come into the company and start their business, or choose any of their career paths that are available to them. So, please consider that if you would, and we certainly appreciate everybody that helps us on the training side.
Awesome.
Good deal. Dave and I, originally when we started this deal, we thought we were going to be, 15, 20 minutes.
That's what we told Mitch.
But in true prime fashion, we got folks here.
Yeah.
Good quality.
Great.
We got tens in here wanting to talk about, exactly what they do. And Jim, you talked a little bit about, the safety and inclement weather portion, so we just want to reemphasize, our message that we've been getting out to drivers, in 2022 is that, the first piece of advice that we're giving to any driver in inclement weather situation is really consider not driving. Really consider letting the worst part of any storm system and traffic situation pass, whether that's, another 4 to 6 hours or even another full 10-hour break before, that allows plows to be deployed, roads to be treated, and gives us an opportunity to reevaluate the safest thing. You hearing any feedback from customers or your associates here in the sales department?
Here's what I'd say. There's nothing more important than safety. So don't take any risk. Customers understand if we have to take hits with them. We don't hear much complaining anymore. We used to over, the last few years, maybe, or I'd say a few years back, maybe you'd hear some customers, kind of try to push. They don't do that anymore, and if they do, we take care of it internally, and so we want the driver to make very good decisions, and if it's questionable, don't do it. Just wait, because there's no load that's too hot for that won't pull off real fast if it's off the road.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, please. That's the number one priority is for you to end the day every day safe.
Absolutely.
And start the day every day safe, but end the day every day safe. And so there's no load that's too hot. So just please, the key is communication. Let your fleet manager know, listen, I'm pulling off. We can let the customers know. That's not going to be any problem. So always the first priority.
Awesome.
Well,
Thank you for joining us.
Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you, buddy. Yeah, thanks for coming up
All
and
right.
spending some time with us.
All right. So,
Man, even Jim used the old Don Lacey quote there a couple times. That's good. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
Rest in peace,
awesome.
Don Lacey. So, as we kind of get down to the end, again, we really appreciate everybody joining us live on Facebook, live on YouTube, and of course anybody that listens. A little bit further down the road. We're over the next couple of weeks. We're going to try to be as creative as we possibly can. We won't sit here and just listen to two old safety guys chatting.
Yeah.
We'll try to get around the facility. We'll maybe Dave and I talked about getting over to the Sim Lab and doing a few meetings, maybe even over to Eco Tread. It's been many years since I've been over there, so it'll give me an opportunity to see some things that are going on too. So
Big thanks to Mitch too and Amy for putting us on in Clayton. I know they had to. Mitch was up last night running to Best Buy or somewhere running around town trying to get all the cords and stuff. So thank you guys for handling that and getting it all working. And heck yeah, let's bring in our closer here, man. All right, Mr. Steve Woodkey. Great to have you, buddy. Thanks.
All
All
Vice
right.
President of Sales and Marketing.
Great to have you.
Hey, it's good to see y'all. Appreciate you putting this together on kind of spur of the moment. It's around here you have to be flexible,
Mm-hmm.
and clearly you got her done. So it's nice to be able to speak to our drivers and our customers if they're watching. We're really, really fortunate to have such a great group of customers. They really worked very closely with us during the holidays, and can't thank our driver base enough for those of you that stayed out and worked during the Christmas and New Year's holiday. We know that there's some sacrifices that go on in this industry, and certainly our driver base steps up and sacrifices to provide service to the customer base. So it's great. While I'm in sales, I'd really rather talk just a minute about safety. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I can tell you that we don't have a salesperson here at Prime that would not respect one of our operators for not running during snow and ice. We just don't have a load that is so important that you have to risk driving in bad conditions. Now, I know there's an ego thing sometimes about this. Everybody thinks they can make it safely, but this captain of the ship thing is real, and we need you to make good decisions as a captain of your ship. And sometimes that means just get off as quickly as you can and call your fleet manager and tell them we're not going to go any further until we get some support on the highways and get them cleaned up a little bit, or the weather breaks. So I think it's extremely important. We've had some incidents this past week that were unfortunate and really uncalled for. Just don't hesitate to get secure and get safe. We'll deal with the late load. That's just one of those things that our customers expect during the winter time. And our sales team will take care of that, and we'll be just fine. So I'd encourage you to please be safe and don't try to be superhuman when it comes to driving this equipment in bad weather. So I thank you very much for everything that you do. Robert had another engagement this morning, so he's not going to make it. But we wish you all the very best and want to thank you. And we've endured some headwinds, obviously, over the last year. Shouldn't go without mentioning that you need to protect yourselves regarding COVID and the variants that are out there, and just don't take anything for granted. I think this too is passing. We've had a big run up here just lately with our shop people and also in-house people. So we're masking for a day or two, hopefully not too long. I've had it with these masks. I'm not a fan of them, but we're just trying to do the right thing. So appreciate everything you all do. Please be safe, and we're getting closer to spring every day. Okay, right?
Yes.
You have to now. I know that's a good
100%.
statement.
100%.
No doubt.
They haven't changed spring date yet.
No.
I wish they would move it up.
Yes.
So thank you all.
right.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.